The massive vessel emerged from the darkness like a leviathan breaking through ocean waves, its crystalline surface refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Admiral James Harrison stood aboard the International Space Station's observation deck, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched humanity's first contact with an alien civilization unfold. The Kraxen ship, nearly 3 kilometers in length, had appeared at the edge of lunar orbit exactly 12 hours ago. Their first transmission had been in perfect English: "We come in peace, seeking dialogue with Earth's leadership." That was 72 years after humanity had detected their first anomalous signal from deep space. Now, in 2157, the wait was over. "Their ambassador shuttle is approaching, Admiral," Lieutenant Rivera announced, her voice steady despite the historical gravity of the moment. "UN Security Council is assembled in Geneva, awaiting your preliminary assessment." Harrison nodded, his steel-gray eyes never leaving the approaching shuttle. Something about its design struck him as odd, too militant for a diplomatic vessel, with what appeared to be concealed weapon ports along its hull. 20 years in Space Force had taught him to trust his instincts. The Kraxen ambassador, who called himself High Emissary Zorax, was a sight to behold. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent scales and 4 arms, he cut an imposing figure as he stepped through the airlock. His translator device hummed softly as he spoke. "We bring greetings from the Kraxen Federation, a coalition of 17 spacefaring species dedicated to uplifting emerging civilizations," Zorax announced. "Your recent achievements in quantum computing and fusion technology have caught our attention. We wish to help humanity reach its full potential." Over the next 6 months, the Kraxen shared seemingly miraculous technologies. They helped establish lunar colonies, provided medical advances that cured several forms of cancer, and introduced clean energy solutions that began to reverse climate change. World leaders embraced them as saviors, and the public celebrated in the streets. But in the shadows, intelligence officer Priya Patel was connecting disturbing dots. Working from a hidden facility beneath the Indian Ocean, she and her team had been analyzing encrypted Kraxen communications. The patterns were troubling. "Look at these energy signatures," she told her colleague, Dr. Marcus Williams, pointing to a holographic display. "Their ships are conducting detailed scans of our military installations, power grids, and resource deposits. These aren't the actions of benevolent allies." Marcus frowned, adjusting his glasses. "There's more. I've been studying their gifts, the technology they've shared. It all has built-in vulnerabilities, backdoors they could exploit. But why give us technology at all if they mean us harm?" "Because they're following a playbook," Priya realized, pulling up historical data from the Kraxen database they'd been given access to. Every civilization they've uplifted has mysteriously disappeared within a decade of first contact. They're not saviors, they're farmers, preparing us for harvest. The evidence mounted. Classified satellite footage showed massive Kraxen warships gathering in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune. Their diplomatic vessels were scanning Earth's defensive capabilities with increasing frequency. And their shared technology was creating dependency. Earth's new power grids and medical systems were becoming increasingly reliant on Kraxen systems. Admiral Harrison received Priya's report on a rainy evening in Geneva. As he read through the evidence, his initial suspicions were confirmed. The Kraxen weren't allies, they were an advanced predator species that had evolved to hunt not just individuals, but entire civilizations. "We need to take this to the Security Council," Harrison said, securing the files. "But we have to be smart about it. If the Kraxen realize we're onto them, they'll strike immediately," Priya finished. "We need time to prepare. To find weaknesses in their technology, to develop countermeasures. Then we keep playing their game," Harrison decided. "We accept their gifts, express our gratitude, all while preparing for war. Humanity survived ice ages, plagues, and its own destructive tendencies. We won't fall to these cosmic locusts." As Harrison left the meeting, he gazed up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, Zorax and his kind were watching, planning, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But humanity had survived countless threats by adapting, by turning apparent weaknesses into strengths. The Admiral smiled grimly. The Kraxan thought they were dealing with naive prey. They would learn, too late, that they had awakened a sleeping giant. The real question was, how long could humanity maintain this deadly masquerade while preparing for the greatest fight in its history? In his private quarters that night, Harrison recorded a message for future generations: they came to us as gods, bearing gifts. But humanity has never been good at worship. We're much better at survival. And if the Kraxan want a fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. 8 months into the Kraxan alliance, Commander Daisuke Tanaka made a discovery that changed everything. Deep within the quantum labs of the Osaka Underground Research Facility, his team had finally cracked the encryption on a damaged Kraxan data core recovered from space debris. This can't be right, he muttered, watching the holographic display reconstruct the Kraxan's true history. The images showed planet after planet, civilization after civilization, all following the same pattern. First contact, technological gifts, integration, and then, extinction. But it was the scale that terrified him. The Kraxan hadn't conquered 17 civilizations as they claimed. They had consumed over 300, each more advanced than the last. Earth wasn't being uplifted, it was being fattened for slaughter. "Get me Admiral Harrison," Daisuke ordered, his hands trembling slightly as he compiled the data. "And activate Protocol Blackout." Within hours, the world's top military and scientific leaders convened in a quantum-shielded bunker beneath the Antarctic ice. The evidence was undeniable. The Kraxans' medical treatments were actually mapping human genetic sequences. Their energy technology was creating dependencies that could be weaponized. Even their diplomatic offices were sophisticated surveillance outposts. "They're not just conquerors," Dr. Isabella Reyes, Earth's leading xenobiologist, explained to the assembled leaders. "They're evolutionary predators. Each civilization they consume makes them stronger. They incorporate the best traits and technologies of their victims into their own species." Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the murmurs of dismay. "Then we give them something they can't digest. Show them Phase 1. Priya Patel stepped forward, activating a secure holographic display. Operation Shadow Shield. "While the Kraxan thought we were merely adopting their technology, we've been studying it, reverse engineering it, and most importantly, improving it." The display showed massive underground facilities on every continent. While the Kraxan watched Earth's surface, humanity had gone deep, building shipyards and weapons factories that combined Kraxan tech with human ingenuity. "Their biggest weakness is their arrogance," Marcus Williams added. "They think we're using their tech exactly as they designed it. They don't understand human creativity, our ability to look at something and ask, what if?" The images shifted to show Earth's secret fleet. The ships weren't the elegant crystal structures of the Kraxan, but rather brutal, practical vessels that looked like they'd been designed by predators rather than prey. "We've taken their quantum shields and modified them to absorb energy rather than deflect it," Isabella explained. "Their biomechanical interfaces. We've evolved them beyond their original parameters. Everything they gave us, we've twisted into something new, something they won't expect." But the Kraxan weren't idle. Their scans were becoming more aggressive, their questions more pointed. High Emissary Zorax had begun requesting tours of military installations, his forearm gestures becoming more insistent with each denial. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Aisha Khan, a quantum communications specialist, detected a pattern in the Kraxan's subspace transmissions. "They're not just gathering data," she reported. "They're calling their invasion fleet. Based on these signals, we have less than 3 months before they strike." Admiral Harrison looked around the room, at the faces of humanity's best and brightest. "Then we have 2 months to be ready. Implementation of Phase 2 begins now." Across the globe, hidden preparations accelerated. Civilian bunkers, disguised as subway expansions and shopping complexes, were stocked and readied. The secret fleet, commanded by officers who had trained in virtual simulations for months, moved into position in caverns beneath the lunar surface. Most crucial was the development of Project Prometheus, a weapon that turned the Kraxen's evolutionary advantages against them. If it worked, it would transform their ability to absorb other species' traits into a fatal weakness. High Emissary Zorax grew increasingly suspicious as subtle changes appeared in human behavior. Trade negotiations stalled. Cultural exchange programs were delayed. His reports to the Kraxen High Command became more urgent, though he couldn't quite identify what was wrong. In his private chambers aboard the Kraxen mothership, Zorax reviewed the invasion plans. The humans were primitive, barely space-capable. Their weapons were crude, their defenses minimal. Victory was assured, just as it had been hundreds of times before. But in the depths of Earth's oceans, in bunkers beneath mountains, and in hidden lunar bases, humanity was preparing to teach the galaxy's greatest predators a lesson about underestimating their prey. The question wasn't whether the Kraxen would attack, but whether humanity's gamble would pay off when they did. "Send the signal," Admiral Harrison ordered, knowing it would reach every hidden facility in Secret Base. Operation Shadow Shield is now active. May God have mercy on their souls, because humanity won't. Operation Shadow Shield activated silently across Earth and its lunar outposts. Humanity had perfected the art of invisible preparation. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Sofia Rodriguez watched as her submarine carriers took position. Each vessel carried dozens of hybrid fighters that combined Kraxen quantum technology with human combat doctrine. "Status report on Project Prometheus," she asked over the quantum-encrypted channel. "Final testing phase complete," Dr. Isabella Reyes responded from her Antarctic lab. "The bioadaptive virus is ready. Once deployed, it will turn their evolutionary absorption ability into a cascade failure. Every piece of stolen genetic code in their bodies will become unstable." The Kraxen made their first move exactly as predicted. Their diplomatic vessels suddenly engaged jamming fields, attempting to disable Earth's communications. But humanity had been running on a shadow network for months, their real command and control systems completely isolated from anything the Kraxen could access. High Emissary Zorax's true form emerged as his diplomatic hologram flickered away. His scales now bristled with organic weapons, his 4 arms wielding energy weapons that could level cities. His voice boomed across all frequencies, "Your species has been chosen for ascension. Surrender now, and your best traits will live on within the Kraxen. Resist, and we will take them anyway." Admiral Harrison's response was brief: "Humanity respectfully declines." The Kraxen fleet emerged from hyperspace in attack formation, over 2,000 ships strong. Their crystal vessels filled Earth's skies, a display of overwhelming force meant to crush any hope of resistance. But humanity had prepared well. As the Kraxen ships moved to bombing position, they triggered quantum mines hidden in Earth's orbit. The explosions weren't meant to destroy, they were delivery systems for Project Prometheus. "Biological agents deployed," Isabella confirmed. "Now we wait." The first Kraxen ship to show signs was their flagship. Its crystalline surface began to ripple as the absorbed technologies and genetic codes within its biomechanical structure started to break down. The effect spread quickly through their fleet as their shared neural network betrayed them. "They're reacting exactly as predicted," Priya reported from her command center. "Their evolutionary advantage is becoming their biggest weakness. Every adaptation, every stolen trait is becoming unstable." But the Kraxen weren't the galaxy's apex predators for nothing. Their remaining ships launched a devastating counterattack. Energy beams capable of cracking continents lanced toward Earth's surface. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. Hidden defense platforms activated, projecting modified versions of Kraxen shield technology. The beams didn't just deflect, they were absorbed and redirected through a network of quantum collectors. "Launch the fleet," Harrison ordered. All units, execute attack pattern Omega. From hidden bases on the moon, beneath the oceans, and inside hollowed-out mountains, humanity's secret armada emerged. The ships were ugly by Kraxan standards, black, angular vessels that looked more like sea creatures than spaceships. But they were built for one purpose, to hunt hunters. Lieutenant Aisha Khan led the first wave of hybrid fighters. Her squadron had trained for months in simulations, learning to combine Kraxan technology with human combat instincts. "Remember your training," she broadcasted to her pilots. "They're stronger, but we're smarter. They're organized, but we're adaptive. Hit them where they don't expect us." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Human ships, smaller and more maneuverable, swarmed the larger Kraxan vessels. They didn't try to match the alien superior technology. Instead, they used modified versions of the Kraxan's own weapons in ways their creators had never imagined. Project Prometheus continued its work, spreading through the Kraxan fleet like a virus. Ships began to break apart as their hybrid technologies turned against them. The proud warriors who had conquered hundreds of civilizations found themselves being torn apart by their own stolen strengths. High Emissary Zorax watched in horror as his mighty fleet was decimated not by superior force, but by human ingenuity. His final transmission to the Kraxan homeworld was cut short as his flagship imploded, centuries of stolen evolution turning to cosmic dust. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, Earth's skies were filled with the debris of what had once been the galaxy's most powerful invasion force. But humanity's victory came at a cost: millions dead, cities damaged, and the knowledge that they were no longer alone in a hostile universe. Admiral Harrison stood on the observation deck where he had first seen the Kraxan ship, now watching Earth's fleet return home. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Operation Shadow Shield is complete. But our work is just beginning." The victory over the Kraxan's initial assault was just the beginning. Deep in interstellar space, massive reinforcement fleets were already responding to their fallen brethren's distress calls. Humanity had won the first battle, but the war for Sol was about to begin. Admiral Harrison and his command staff gathered in the quantum-shielded war room beneath Geneva. Holographic displays showed thousands of Kraxan vessels converging on the solar system from multiple vectors. "They're adapting to Project Prometheus," Dr. Isabella Reyes reported grimly. "The surviving ships are implementing biological countermeasures. We won't be able to use the same trick twice." Commander Daisuke Tanaka stepped forward, manipulating the tactical display. "Our analysis of their ship debris revealed something interesting. The Kraxan don't just absorb traits from conquered species, they're literally unable to innovate on their own. They can only copy and combine." This revelation sparked an idea in Lieutenant Khan's mind. "Then we give them too much to copy. We overwhelm their absorption capacity with contradicting technologies." Over the next 2 weeks, Earth's factories worked at full capacity, producing what appeared to be crude, almost primitive weapons and ships. But hidden within these seemingly inferior vessels were technological traps, systems designed to feed the Kraxan's absorption abilities with paradoxical and destructive data. The Kraxan's main fleet arrived with overwhelming force. Over 5,000 capital ships emerged from hyperspace, led by Supreme Warmind Crixus, a being composed of the combined consciousness of 100 conquered species. "Your resistance is unprecedented," Crixus transmitted. "But ultimately futile. We are evolution incarnate. We cannot be stopped." Humanity's response came in the form of Operation Hydra. The seemingly primitive Earth ships approached the Kraxan fleet in waves, each carrying what appeared to be different levels of technology. The Kraxan, true to their nature, began absorbing and adapting. "They're taking the bait," General Rodriguez reported from her command carrier. Initiating Phase 2. The primitive, human ships suddenly activated quantum resonators, creating a cascade of conflicting technological signals. The Kraxan ships that had absorbed the new technologies began experiencing systems failures as their adaptive capabilities tried to reconcile incompatible data. But the Kraxan had learned from their first defeat. Their ships split into smaller, autonomous units, reducing the spread of harmful adaptations. The battle devolved into thousands of smaller engagements across the solar system. Mars became a battleground as Kraxan forces attempted to establish a beachhead. The hidden colonies beneath the red planet's surface emerged, revealing massive rail guns that hurled relativistic projectiles at the invading ships. Jupiter's moons, secretly harboring human military installations, launched swarms of quantum-enabled fighters. The gas giant's massive electromagnetic field became a weapon in humanity's arsenal, disrupting Kraxan navigation systems. Supreme Warmind Crixus, confronted with tactics and technologies it couldn't simply absorb and repurpose, began making mistakes. Its responses became increasingly erratic as it faced an enemy that didn't follow the patterns of countless previous conquests. The turning point came at Saturn. The Kraxan fleet, pursuing what they thought was Earth's retreating forces, flew into humanity's greatest trap. The rings of Saturn, seeded with millions of microscopic quantum processors, activated simultaneously. The resulting energy wave transformed the debris field into a vast weapon, tearing apart Kraxan ships with gravitational forces. "This is impossible," Crixus broadcasted, its composed demeanor finally cracking. "You are prey. You cannot defeat us. We are perfection." Admiral Harrison's response was calm: "No, you're stagnant. You stopped evolving the moment you started stealing evolution from others. Humanity never stopped. We never will." The final phase of the battle involved a desperate gambit. Earth's quantum scientists had discovered that the Kraxan's ability to absorb other species' traits had a critical weakness: it couldn't handle truly original innovations. They had survived for so long by taking and combining existing technologies that their ability to comprehend completely new concepts had atrophied. Under Dr. Reyes's direction, Earth's fleet deployed weapons that defied the very laws of physics the Kraxan understood. Not through superior technology, but through human creativity and theoretical physics that even humanity didn't fully comprehend. Supreme Warmind Crixus, faced with concepts it couldn't absorb or understand, suffered a catastrophic breakdown. Its flagship, a vessel 20 kilometers long, imploded as its hybrid technologies failed to reconcile with the impossible data it was receiving. The remaining Kraxan ships, suddenly cut off from their supreme commander, fell into disarray. Some fled into hyperspace, while others fought on with increasingly desperate tactics. But the outcome was no longer in doubt. As the last Kraxan ships retreated from the solar system, humanity began to understand the full scope of their victory. They hadn't just defeated an invasion, they had shattered the foundation of the galaxy's most powerful civilization. The aftermath of the Kraxan War reshaped not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. As humanity began exploring the stars with their newly enhanced technologies, they discovered the true impact of their victory. The Kraxan's collapse had created a power vacuum, and dozens of previously subjugated species were emerging from centuries of oppression. Admiral Harrison, now leading the newly formed United Earth Space Command, stood aboard the flagship, Prometheus, as it approached the First Diplomatic Congress of Free Species. The massive space station, constructed in neutral territory, hosted representatives from over 50 civilizations. "We didn't just win a war," Priya Patel observed, now serving as Earth's chief diplomatic officer. "We shattered a paradigm that had dominated galactic civilization for millennia. The question is, what do we build in its place?" The answer came from the most unexpected source. Dr. Isabella Reyes had been studying the genetic archives recovered from Kraxan vessels. Within them, she found something remarkable: evidence that the Kraxan themselves had once been victims of a similar predatory species, and their evolution-stealing ability had originally been a defensive adaptation. "They became what they feared most," she explained to the gathered representatives. "But we have a chance to break this cycle. To build something new." The Galactic Concordat was born from these discussions. Unlike the Kraxen's forced uplift program, this new alliance was based on voluntary cooperation and mutual respect. Each species would develop at its own pace, sharing knowledge only when both parties were ready. Humanity's role in this new order was unique. Their victory over the Kraxen had earned them respect, but it was their approach to technology and problem-solving that truly set them apart. While other species had specialized evolutionary paths, humans remained adaptable generalists, able to think in ways that even the most advanced civilizations found surprising. Lieutenant Khan, leading Earth's first deep space exploration mission, discovered intact colonies of species thought extinct under Kraxen rule. These survivors had hidden themselves away, preserving their cultures and technologies. The process of reintegrating them into galactic society became one of humanity's greatest challenges and achievements. Commander Tanaka established the Galactic Science Initiative, a collaborative research program that combined the scientific knowledge of multiple species. The focus wasn't on stealing or copying technologies, but on genuine innovation and discovery. The first major breakthrough came within a year, a new form of faster-than-light travel that made the Kraxen's hyperspace technology obsolete. But peace brought its own challenges. Some human factions argued for taking advantage of their military superiority to establish dominance. Others wanted to isolate Earth from potential threats. The debate raged until General Rodriguez presented evidence of numerous hostile civilizations still lurking in unexplored space. "We didn't defeat the Kraxen to become them," she argued before the United Earth Council. "We won because we remained true to our principles while adapting to face new challenges. That's the legacy we should build on." The next decade saw unprecedented advancement. Earth became a hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange. The hybrid technologies developed to fight the Kraxen were refined and repurposed for peaceful applications. Former Kraxen slave worlds were rebuilt with human assistance, each developing their own unique path forward. Admiral Harrison, on the 10th anniversary of the Kraxen War's end, gave his final address before retiring. "The stars were meant to be a graveyard for our species. Instead, they became our greatest classroom. We learned that true strength isn't about dominating others, but about helping them stand tall." The Kraxen sought to consume evolution itself, but they forgot its most fundamental lesson: adapt, cooperate, or perish. The message reached across space to thousands of worlds, translated into hundreds of languages. On each planet, beings who had once lived in fear of the Kraxen looked up at their skies and saw not conquest, but opportunity. Humanity had done more than stop an invasion, they had shown the galaxy a new way forward. Earth's shipyards now produced vessels of exploration rather than war. The quantum sciences that had saved humanity were being used to heal worlds ravaged by centuries of exploitation. And in the great universities of 100 species, young minds learned the most important lesson of all, that the universe was not a place of predators and prey, but a vast frontier where cooperation and innovation could unlock wonders beyond imagination. The human era had begun, not with conquest, but with hope. And in the vast darkness between the stars, countless civilizations looked to Earth not with fear, but with gratitude and anticipation for what the future might bring. The end.